Good evening. Welcome to Soundtracks with Birdman. Tonight, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Could this be the best Star Trek score ever? In my opinion, probably so. But to discuss it, we have Age Boomer as always, and special guest from across the pond, Sir Ian. How are you tonight?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Just full disclosure, I am not a knight.
Well, here you are, if that's okay.
Yes. That could be a grave thing over there in England.
You can call me Sir Ian, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Sean Connery's a knight.
Yes, he is.
I don't know. That's popped in my head. William Shatner is not. So you're in good company, right? Okay.
Yeah.
He's
Canadian. He's Canadian. Yeah. Of course, I don't know.
You can be. They knight Americans too, don't they?
I think you can be an honorary knight because Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Honorary knighthood.
So yeah,
I'll take honorary any day.
Yeah.
All right. Really looking forward to this movie. This is one of my favorites from childhood, actually. Remember, this was my introduction to Star Trek. Really, this movie. I knew of it, but
I'm guessing you were 6 when this film came out. How old are you, sir?
This was 82, so this would have been 5. So yeah, probably around 6 when I saw it. I didn't see it till it came out on cable, okay, which was probably when I was about 6 or 7, okay, and Showtime got it because they got all the Paramount movies, and I didn't know what to make of it when I first saw it, because my only other big space movie I'd seen was Star Wars, okay. And this was a very different animal than Star Wars was. I remember, though, that I thought the villain in this thing was interesting because I recognized him as the villain, but I understood why he was angry. Unlike Darth Vader, who comes out and he's just evil from the get-go. Of course, we learn more about Vader later on, but in that first Star Wars movie, he's basically the Black Knight, but in this movie, it was kind of interesting. And I remember being a kid and seeing the title come up the screen saying "in the 23rd century," and I'm like, "What does that mean, 23rd century? What is that?" And I think my dad explained to me, "Well, we're in the 20th century now, so this is like in 3. Wait a minute, so this is the future."
Future.
And I was like, and I was totally buying into it. Then I'm like, "Wow, this could really happen." Of course, you're talking to the same kid that thought they shot all of the space scenes in Star Wars and Empire, actually, that they shot them in outer space. Like they had film sets in outer space when they were making the movie when I was a kid.
What about you? How old were you when you first saw this?
I was 14 when I saw this.
Okay.
In 82. So I saw it in a very, very small cinema in a place called Kendal, which is just south of the Lake District, which is northwest England. On a very rainy afternoon, been camping with my dad, couldn't do anything because it was just torrential rain. He said, let's go to the flicks. So we ended up seeing this, and I'd actually seen Star Trek the motion picture, was aware of it. I'd seen a whole bunch of Star Trek episodes, so I was aware of Star Trek, Kirk and Spock and the rest of them. So yeah, and I was absolutely blown away by this film. It's still my favorite Star Trek film of all time.
Yes, yes. I was 8 when this came out, and my mother took me to the theater and just dropped me off. Saw it by myself. I was scared of those little earbug things. Oh, so it's an 8-year-old. I was like, oh, I ain't having that. But this was probably the scariest movie I ever saw at 8 years old because of those earbugs.
To this day, I run into people and I mention this. Do you like this one? Do you like Star Trek 2 the best? I don't like that one. That's the one with the bugs. And oh, here we go. Okay. And they'll always say, I like the one with the whales where they go to the present day. And yeah, that's fine. I like Star Trek 4 too, but you're missing the point. Anyway.
Well, let me just welcome the chat real fast, then we'll dive into the film. Big Al's here. Hello, Big Al. He's all about Kahn. Melissa Harrison Sons, thank you for coming as always. Chris P, how are you? And yeah, that's everyone so far.
Cool.
Chris P said he saw this with his mother and brother. Always a good memory.
Cool.
And Melissa Harris is comparing Kahn to an evil version of Captain America because he's a genetically engineered super soldier. It's a valid point.
It's
a very
interesting.
valid point.
Gene Roddenberry, I don't know if it was just him or if a lot of the writers of Star Trek, they were very against the idea of eugenics. They thought that was horrible, and usually eugenics is always presented as something bad, tampering with someone's genes. Even on some of the later Star Trek series, one of the characters we find out reason he's so smart is because his parents actually tampered with his genes.
Dr. Bashir.
It was this big controversial thing. And of course, they had to go to jail for that because that's illegal in the Federation. Okay. And, I understand why. I don't believe in it either, but it's always kind of a thing. But yeah, you're right. Captain America, that's kind of tampering with the genes. I don't know. I don't want to think too much about this now. You're playing that thing in my head.
And Matthew Flynn just joined us from the UK as well. Hello, Matthew Flynn.
Hi, Matthew.
Thank you for coming by. Let me get my little earphones in, and we'll start the film.
So was this movie a big deal in the UK as well?
I thought it was.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure.
I suppose if you're a Star Trek fan, it would have been a big deal.
Yeah.
The budget for this was $10 million. The budget on the motion picture was $45 million.
I was reading this afternoon that Nicholas Meyer was asked, why didn't you get Jerry Goldsmith back to score this film? And he said, well, we didn't have the budget for it. So,
yeah.
In The Battle Beyond the Stars, I don't know if it's in that soundtrack pamphlet or if I read it somewhere online that James Horner said, The Battle Beyond the Stars soundtrack, that was me trying to imitate Jerry Goldsmith. He basically admitted it. And a lot of those same cues kind of show up in this movie too. So those are interesting soundtracks to compare and contrast. Yeah.
And if you follow James Horner, he goes through like periods where he's going to just reuse the same music for a couple of films. And he gets a lot of grief for it. I don't mind it. To me, that's just James Horner.
I think they're different enough sounding that it's a signature. I'm not going to pick on him for using certain templates. Yeah, it's fine.
I'm not. I can't score any film. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I look at it this way. I get 2 good scores out of it. Okay, 3 actually, because I have the Alien score too, which has some similarities to this. Though I think it's a little.
It does, and Kroll as well.
Kroll I don't have, but to be fair, that was not a childhood movie of mine, so I didn't have the nostalgia for it. I didn't see that till many years later. It's probably on HBO.
Probably so.
Oh boy,
right.
though.
Well, let's press this play button.
Well, and, you're gonna give us some warning, right? Is it a 1, 2, 3?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay. Y'all good?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, play. I'm at the Paramount picture.
Okay. Yeah, so am I. I might be a couple seconds behind. Oh, I have to tell you. Mm-hmm.
I've said this before. Paramount in the 80s, quite the motion picture studio.
I won't argue there. They put out good stuff. To be fair, I still watch their movies today. I mean, I am a sucker for the Mission Impossible movies. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not. But I love the even before the score starts, you hear what are those woodwinds or whatever, like the eeriness of it before we get the classic Star Trek theme from the old series, and then that pops on. And
which was by Alexander Courage back in the day.
Who was Jerry Goldsmith's orchestrator in later years as well.
Oh,
he was.
Cool. What is this track called? Hold on. Is this? I always call it like the preamble, but hold on. That's probably not the right word.
Opening title?
Opening title. Yeah, I love it. I hunted for this soundtrack when I was a kid, and by the time I started, I guess having the allowance money and started buying soundtracks, I couldn't find this anywhere. I couldn't even find the Star Trek 3 soundtrack anywhere. I found the Star Trek 4 soundtrack, and well, I'll keep my mouth shut on that one. But anyway, I actually recorded this from this. I recorded this from the onto an audio tape from the video cassette just to hear it. Okay. it would be many years before I would actually even get a copy of this on CD. But
So, Zootopia, is this your favorite score of like all time, or just your favorite Star Trek score?
I'll tell you this: if someone told me this was their favorite score, I wouldn't argue with them. Okay,
Of all time?
it's very good. I love it.
Okay.
I don't. It's not mine, but it might be in my top 10. I'll be honest with you. It could, or at least top 20. It's very good. It's. Anyway, I'll shut up.
Yeah, don't give me a copyright strike.
Oh, it's funny. These stars, from what I heard, these are actually CG computer animated, but they had to be projected onto a screen, and then they used a film camera to film the screen. I think I heard that somewhere, but it looks good. So, however they did it.
I read somewhere about how they did this, but it was far too complicated. I didn't really understand it, so I won't try and explain it.
Yeah, it's. This movie has very early computer animation in it, and I think it's only in a couple segments. But a lot of this is Industrial Light and Magic. The Star Wars guys, Indiana Jones people, they did the effects for this movie.
Yeah, and the computer generated effect, the Genesis effect, was very early work by Pixar.
Yep. Sir Ian, did you think the uniforms were an improvement over motion pictures uniforms when you first saw this?
I did, because I thought the uniforms in the motion picture were the dullest things in the world. I mean, I didn't like them. I just thought they were a waste of space, really. Having said that, I quite enjoyed the film.
Yeah. I would even argue motion picture has great model effects in it. I mean, maybe in some ways better than what we call them. Well, I don't want to say better than Star Wars, but they were competitive. I'll put it to you that way. And
oh, absolutely. And a lot of the effects are reused in this film as well.
Oh, interesting.
The Klingon cruisers coming up in the Kobayashi Maru here from the beginning of the motion picture.
Oh, I never even knew that.
Yeah.
So they just get a video. Well, I'm not going to say they get a videotape, but it's basically that scene where you see them crawling up at the beginning of Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Okay, cool. But to be fair, what did we learn? We learned that this is a test. So, I know that was footage they had of those same ships, and they just put it in the simulation. I don't know.
In the Next Generation, they had changed up the Kobayashi Maru to be a lot more individual. I remember Wesley Crusher took it, and he passed. It was in one episode.
I guess, what is it, like facing your greatest fear?
Yeah, they personalized it, and they used holodecks for it.
Oh well, I guess they would. I would imagine this would be a surprise for anyone familiar with Star Trek, because you're watching this and you're seeing a different captain in the chair than Kirk, right?
Yeah. A lot more attractive than Captain Kirk, I might say.
Yes.
It depends on your point of view.
That's true.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah, so those shots of the Klingon cruisers are from Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
I recognize now. I can pinpoint it now that you mentioned it. I never noticed that before. Yeah. Huh.
And the whole leaving dry dock when they leave for their mission, that's all taken from the motion picture as well.
Cool. Well, use it, and like I said, I hadn't even seen the motion picture when I first saw this. It was one I was always curious about, but it was never on TV or anything. So I was kind of I started with this, and then I would try and catch old episodes of the show when I could, when I was a kid, because those were kind of sporadically shown on syndicated TV. They might have them on at midnight. That was too late for me to stay up till, but I'd try and set up everything to record them at least. But yeah.
If you start with this film, it's not a bad place to start, because you start with the look of the uniforms, a different style of filmmaking, and then you move on from there. It doesn't matter if you have a picture.
Matthew Flynn, did you enjoy Kroll? I've never seen it. I feel like I should at some point.
What about my performance? I'm not a drama critic, so I don't know. Kirk is a little moody today. That's something I didn't quite pick up when I was a kid because it's his birthday, right?
It's his birthday. We're all moody on our birthday, right?
Yeah, well, he's in middle age, and it'll happen to you as you get older. You're like, yeah, whatever, okay.
How old is he here? I'm curious now.
I don't know. I would think in his 40s at this point in this movie. I don't know though.
Well, William Shatner or the character?
The character. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
All right.
We could probably find out how old Shatner was. This came out in what, 82, I think.
Yeah, I think Shatner was 87 when he made this.
He was born in 31, so right at 50. Wow.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
So Shatner 90 this year.
Wow, he's been married 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
Yes. Oh, I there was a wonderful I think it was on one of the home channels back when he was still married to his last wife, and they were having to fix up his house, and it was just funny seeing William Shatner just as a guy trying to spruce up his house. It was a funny series they did. It started out space. I need more of it. It started out like that, but I have to say, when I was a kid, though, I didn't look up to these are the old middle-aged people. I had utmost respect for all these characters, even though I didn't even know who they were yet. I think sometimes, I don't want to say directors or filmmakers sometimes make a mistake thinking they have to stick a kid in the movie for a kid to enjoy it. They can't have that. No, I gravitated instantly to Kirk and Spock and all of them. Even Dr. McCoy and
I never enjoyed that as a kid. Kids movies with kids in.
No,
I preferred
it's
stories about when I was a child.
Yeah. I think when you're a kid, you're looking toward the future. You're looking to becoming that adult.
Yeah.
And
you don't
also
want to be
sometimes
a kid.
the
You
kids
want to be an adult.
Sometimes those, not only that though, but sometimes those kids in movies would be very obnoxious too. And like maybe as you're around obnoxious kids, and maybe you're even obnoxious yourself sometimes without realizing it. So you don't really want to be seeing that reflected back at you on the screen. Very rare examples, like Short Round from Temple of Doom. That's a kid I liked in a movie. Okay, but a lot of the time, I don't know. It's especially when you're wanting to see the adult characters.
Melissa Harris and unnamed. Go ahead, Sir Ian. Sorry.
No, I was going to say there's nothing worse in films when they do have child characters, and they're more intelligent. They know more than the adults. They speak like adults, and I think kids aren't like that.
No.
Just be a kid, and I'll watch you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Melissa Harris is asking if Kahn killed Kirk's son. No, in the third film, an unnamed Klingon person kills Kirk's son, and then he shortly dies thereafter.
Oh yeah. Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. The guy that was under Krug. I keep thinking Krug killed him, but Krug gave the order. Okay. So I look at Krug as the one who did it, not the. Well, I mean, I guess the soldiers are compliant too, but it's. I really do see that as Krug's kill, even though he's not the one that actually did it. But
he did give the order, so he's just as culpable.
I do have a lot of love for Star Trek 3 as well. It's not as perfect as this movie, but I still like it a lot. Yeah, this is just Nicholas Meyer. They picked the right director for this movie. They're having a. And this is considered. Mm-hmm.
He was not a Star Trek fan. He had never watched Star Trek, but he still did a good job because he immersed himself in the lore of Star Trek to understand it. Unlike people who are like, here's a project, and you're like, good, I'm going to make it how I want to make it. Well, why don't you be true to the project? Like, I don't want to. Okay.
Even Heath Ledger, even though I don't know how familiar he was with Batman, he still read a bunch of Joker comic books and tried to immerse himself in that character before he took on the role. He did the homework at least. Max von Sydow, they asked him, how did you prepare for the role of Leland Gaunt in Needful Things? And he said, I read the book. The Stephen King book that was based on.
And Andrew's in the house tonight. Welcome, Andrew. And he is correct. The expanded score for this is going for big bucks on eBay and other sites. Yes. So if you don't have it,
Melissa,
good
I'll let them
man.
know I'll let them know you got the DVD. Oh, I love the model effects in this. This feels like space to me, and it's funny. Nicholas Meyer said he wanted to go with no sound for the ships, no sound for like the phasers, anything like that in space, because he said in space there wouldn't be any sound, and the studio gave him arguments. So his compromise was to have like kind of a muffled sound when the ships were going over. You know. There we have Chekhov.
I got mine too. This is the one you got, Boomer?
That's the one I got. Yep, that's the same one.
Yep.
I like the CD. It looks like the Genesis effect, I think, as done on the computer screen. Here we have Captain Tyrell, who is an interesting character in his own right. I feel bad for him in this movie. He gets put through the ringer and then has to. Well, we'll get to that part later, but.
Paul Winfield appeared in one of the episodes of The Next Generation as well, I think.
Oh, I guess he played a different character, though. He wasn't like a relation to Captain
different character.
Tyrell.
He didn't play Tyrell. No.
Yeah. That happens a lot, too. Like the one who plays, well, they never say he's Kahn's son, but I always assumed he was Kahn's son. He shows up on TNG as well. In one of the early episodes.
Matthew Flynn asked, Captain Kirk or Captain Picard?
Oh, don't do this to me, Kirk. I'm sorry. No, I grew to like Picard as the show went on, though. TNG, when it first started, it hit wrong notes for me. I grew to like it later on. Like, we were talking about kid characters. I couldn't stand Wesley that first season. I wanted to throttle him.
I don't think I cared for him any season, but
he got better as the show went along. When he grew up a little bit, he wasn't as bad as annoying. But I don't know. It's not even that I'm necessarily blaming Will Wheaton for that. It's how the part was written. But yeah, just.
All right. Ian, are you Kirk or Picard? Who's your favorite?
I'm a Captain Kirk person.
I think it's what
I think I would
Kirk,
be too.
definitely Kirk.
I think it's what you grew up with. I do give them points on The Next Generation for trying a different kind of captain, for not just trying to make a Kirk clone. They kind of went in the opposite. In fact, I think that was the argument is that Riker was more like a Kirk and Picard was more like a Spock. You know, he was more the measured, even-tempered, thoughtful. But at this point, though, all of these characters are. They've all matured. They've all been through a lot, so they have a lot of experience under their belts. So, this is a terrible planet.
They filmed this on a soundstage with a whole bunch of sand and some really big fans.
I have to say, it might be one of the more convincing planets I've seen on Star Trek. I'm sorry, I'm being mean. I'm sorry. That's the one thing Star Trek always gets criticized for, is sometimes when they land on a planet, it looks like a set. They got better with that as time went on, but I like those spacesuits too. Those are heavy duty. They must be prepped for whatever they might encounter out there.
They still look pretty good today as well, kind of 40 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like in The Next Generation how they changed it so the captain can't go on away missions. I think that was a good change.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It might be because of stuff like this. Though once in a while, Picard would go on an away mission. Like, remember when they found that they found some empty cruiser intact, and I think Picard wanted to go and visit because he's an archaeologist. So he says, I'm going. He wanted to go. And he was talking about ships and bottles, how he used to build space. I guess in the future still build ships and bottles, but it's spaceships of different ancient civilizations that people have encountered in space.
Oh yeah, the ship in the bottle episode.
I remember that. Yeah. Look, I guess
he asked Worf. He's like, "Didn't you play with toys?" He goes, "Klingons do not play with toys."
Oh, whatever. Yeah, that's a bunch of BS. I'm sure they do. Klingons don't play with toys.
And Matthew Flynn says it's a controversial opinion to like Star Trek. Oh, 5. Okay. I like Star Trek 5. I enjoy watching it. I understand it does get a lot of hate.
Yeah,
it's got a wonderful Jerry Goldsmith score. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sure we'll get to it at some point. I will say this. I will say that in the case of Star Trek 5, it was a anything that could go wrong did go wrong. Now this track is creepy. The what are these instruments? Woodwinds?
Yeah.
I'm a kid and I'm terrified, okay, just by the music.
You should be.
How about you, Ian? What did you when you saw it in the theater? I guess you were older. What did that still creep you out when they're seeing Kahn for the first time? Did you know who Kahn was before this movie came out, or was it a kind of a surprise to you too?
I was surprised. I had no idea. I mean, I'd seen episodes of the TV series, but I hadn't seen the Kahn episode. So
yeah.
But the atmosphere just completely grabs you from minute one with this film. So I was 14 when I watched this. I was completely immersed in the whole world. So I wasn't saying I wasn't completely questioning this all the time. I just said, yep, this is the bad guy. He's got something against the good guys. I just completely went with it. So
yeah,
it was only years later that I found out who Kahn was, and I actually saw the episode, which was okay.
Yeah.
Great, but,
yeah, I know. It's like, okay, that's all right. It's what I find fascinating though is that you're right. I was thinking the same thing. These look like dangerous people, and typically I don't like exposition scenes in movies. In my opinion, this might be one of the best, if not the best, exposition scene I've ever seen in a movie. He's retelling the story of the episode of Star Trek Space Seed. And I am completely in rapt attention of every word coming out of Ricardo Montalban's mouth. And I realize why. It's because I know something bad is about to happen. And I'm listening, and that's why I'm paying attention. Okay?
I love the fact he's so quiet explaining everything. And then he only explodes when they get the planet wrong.
Yeah.
And he says, this is SETI Alpha, whichever one it was.
See, that's the Alpha 5, because he says, you thought this was SETI Alpha 6. It's brilliant.
That's it.
Ricardo Montalban just has a way of talking and delivering words.
Yeah, he used to pick on his. He used to be self-conscious of his accent. I think his accent is wonderful. I think it's
where's
brilliant.
He from?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me look that up. South America. I don't know. Hold on. He was a big time Hollywood leading man back in the day too. You know that "Baby It's Cold Outside" song that was first sung by him.
What?
Yes, I forgot which movie it was. Yeah. Hold on. Where was he born? I'll find out for you. My apologies. Not South America, Mexico. Born in Mexico. Okay.
Oh, okay. Interesting story. They wrote the script and they were all getting ready to film, and then it occurred and they never asked Ricardo Montalban if he would come back to play Kahn.
Oh, that's funny. He was doing Fantasy Island at the time too. Yeah.
But could you imagine that? You go through all this work and you're like, oh, hey, did anyone ask him if he wants to come back? Because if he had said no, I mean, they'd have to recast him.
They would have just had to recast, and
Yeah.
What can you do?
Chris P says there about Kahn's right hand and the glove. I was looking at this film earlier on with commentary on by Nicholas Meyer, and he came up with the glove thing on the set, and he says when you're getting undressed, just take off one glove but leave the other glove on. And Ricardo Montalban said, why? He says, that's what people are going to ask. So it's never explained.
Like, is he going to take the hand off and it's just a skeletal hand underneath or something? And like, yeah, well, that's another thing. Meyer knew how to deliver this exposition because I'm completely paying attention to this story. unlike I love Big Trouble in Little China, but I think even the characters make fun of the exposition in that movie when it's being used, but here it's perfect with power and millions. And I'm thinking, what did he do in the past? I mean, and this will go. I like this. You repaid his hospitality by trying to steal a ship and murder him. You don't even pay attention to that statement. Now he's realizing.
I need to put the subtitles on. I have no idea what these people are saying.
Yeah, I put the captions on too usually, but yeah, you didn't expect to find me. You thought this was SETI Alpha 6.
That's it.
Why are you here? Why? And I'm thinking they're not going to talk.
He's just so intense.
He just lifts up the suit. That's just showing how strong he is, but it's not even. I think too. I must have seen Superman 2 by now too, so I don't know if I was getting a General Zod flashback at that point. I'm just. Okay.
It's just creepy. It's still today. This is like, oh, I don't like this guy.
This is terrifying. I keep wanting to say this is inspired by urban legends of the bug getting in the person's ear. That's where Nicholas Meyer took this from. I mean, I've heard other urban legends of the person that sends for the diet pill in the mail and they get it and they lose a lot of weight, but then they start feeling weird and they go to the doctor and then there's a tapeworm inside them. I mean, people don't like insects, okay? Except for maybe entomologists, okay? I'm just... And I live in Florida. This is bug country, okay?
What makes this worse is those little creatures are really dry, scaly things, but the things he pulls out are juicy and squidgy and yeah.
It's horrible. The way the thing gets all violently after taking that's a mother. Keep in mind, too, of that species. I'm terrified. You see the young wrap themselves around the cerebral cortex.
I don't even know what that is, but I don't want it to happen.
It's a part of the brain, I think. I think I looked it up after I saw this movie. I'm like, what is... As they grow...
It's next to the liver.
Now, Kahn hates, I think, obviously at this point, hates Starfleet and especially hates Captain Kirk, right? But I'm thinking as they're pleading... Even he's getting a little uncomfortable. I don't know. I could be reading it wrong. That even he knows how awful this is.
He's enjoying it, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, like I said, I might be reading it wrong. Yeah, I just...
There is a couple of books out that deal with Kahn back when he was in our time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, on the original DVD of this, there's a funny. They interview the author of those books, and he was getting all annoyed because he's saying, "Yeah, I had to come up for a reason in the book why Kahn shaves his beard because Kahn was a Sikh, and whoever wrote the." wrote the original episode Spacey didn't realize that Sikhs have beards, it's like so he had to come up with this whole excuse why Kahn got rid of his beard, and he had to write that in. So I bet these shots right here, Ian, are these the ones that were reused from a motion picture?
That's right, yeah. Nearly all of these are motion picture shots.
I wonder, you just reverse it, maybe show a different, maybe zoom in a little bit. Looks like a new thing.
Exactly.
I like Sulu. Any chance to get aboard the Enterprise, I always
remember they did drastically cut the budget on this. This was $10 million film. They didn't have a whole lot of money to play with.
It looks good. I'm glad all the actors signed on for it too. They said Ricardo Montalban, he was trying to do the part, and they said he was doing fine, but he knew something was off. And they said he rewatched. I need a get me a film strip of Space Seed. I need to watch it again because he had to see how he was, and then it kind of and then he finally remembered how he played the character on the episode. Okay, but he had to rewatch the episode for him to figure it out. I thought that was interesting. Scotty.
And in the expanded
Scotty
edition, by like 5
progressively
minutes.
fatter as these films go on.
He does. He does. They made a joke about that on The Simpsons.
Like, I cannot reach the controls.
I know. I don't care. I like seeing Scotty. I just he's a trip. And he gets put through the ringer. Actually, they all do. Who am I saying? I keep saying that. That's that kid that screamed out, midshipman. He was actually supposed to be Scotty's nephew, but they cut those scenes. You can see it in the director's cut. That's why it's so. I think it's supposed to come as more of a shock when he's dead. But I didn't know that. I just figured Scotty was upset that one of the prize pupils ended up killed. That's how I always saw it.
I don't know why they cut it. They only cut out like 4 minutes out of this film. I mean,
I don't know. There was some reason. He kind of reminds me of Burt Ward. Maybe that's why they did it. I don't know. Like, look at that. He's testing for dust. I get the impression Kirk. I don't think he wants to be here. I don't know. It's just. What do they say? I think Myers said on the Blu-ray, the DVD or whatever. He says, "What do you do with all of your best captains or best? You put them behind a desk. Okay, that's what you do in the military. They get older, you stick them behind a desk."
This bit of score is outstanding.
Oh yeah.
James Horner says he was going for more of a nautical feel to the score.
And I think that's what Nicholas Myers was trying to go for with this. I mean,
yeah, he was going for like a Horatio Hornblower feel to a
Horatio Hornblower. There have been several episodes of I think there was one episode of Star Trek where they're up against the Romulans, how they treated it like a submarine battle. Okay, because I think the submarines had a cloaking. Yeah, the Romulans had a cloaking device. Yeah,
when they first introduced them back in the original series. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we have Spock.
Now, I know rumors got about in the early 80s because there wasn't any kind of internet or anything, but it did get out that there was possibly Spock was going to die during Star Trek 2.
Oh,
That's
really?
Why they had that opening scene where you see the characters being killed off at the beginning. So fans who saw that scene, they killed off Spock at the beginning. Well, we can all relax now.
Oh,
everybody forgot about it. So when it comes to the end and Spock really dies, they're like, "Oh, shit! They killed him."
Interesting. I didn't realize that. They probably leaked and they wrote it, but that scene works because it's treating death as something light in the beginning, and no, it really isn't by the end of the movie. I think. I don't know. I've heard other people comment that this is about Kirk facing the no-win scenario because Kirk doesn't believe in the no-win scenario. Oh, I love the model effects.
Is this the best-looking Enterprise? If Big Al's in the house, I'd like to hear his opinion.
Yes. Don't even bring up the one on TNG.
Okay.
They're going to have people arguing with me.
You don't like Enterprise D?
Enterprise D's design was made because they were trying to maybe do the whole show in CG, and then they realized that CG was not up to par at that point. I always found it too top heavy. I had one of the die-cast models of it. It always toppled over. This I like. But I'll say this, it did give TNG its own look, though, so I can't pick on it too much. At least they didn't just recycle the same ships. So
you got used to it after a while watching it, but the saucer section of the Next Generation always looked too big. It always just looked like they'd inflated it too much. You know, go, oh, that'll do. You know.
It was probably the best they could do with a computer at the time, and then they realized later on we can't be doing these computer effects. We're just going to go back to models, I think, and then that's what I'd heard, at least. I don't know. I'm not a Trek expert by any stretch of the imagination, but regular one.
And do y'all buy this guy as Kirk's son?
A number of times.
Was that a reused model also from?
Yeah.
Okay. What were you asking us about Kirk's son?
Oh, do you buy this guy as being Kirk's son?
Yes. How about you, Ian?
I do, yeah, definitely.
I buy him as a combination of his mother and father. That's how he seems. Okay.
Yeah.
He does seem like both his mother and father's son here, because he has elements of his mother in him too. The scientific portion of it, you know, the blonde hair, he takes a bit after his mother, but he also,
he's got that hot-headed streak of Kirk.
He does. And of course he doesn't like Kirk, and sometimes you don't like people that you're a lot alike, you know, when you're a lot alike.
Which makes that final scene between him and Kirk all that more moving, I think, when he eventually says to him, you know, I'm proud to be your son.
Very moving. Yeah, I that scene alone elevates this movie even higher. Yeah. Admiral James T. Kirk. Uh-oh. Now, it's interesting. He's yelling about Starfleet. These scientists, they don't completely trust Starfleet. And I think that's interesting because, of course, on TNG, Starfleet's a much better organization. But I'm wondering if at this point in Starfleet's history, if there are a lot of tensions between them and the Klingons and even other parts of space where they are a little bit more militaristic than they've been. That's sort of what I got from this movie. I don't know. I mean, they're not at war, but they're definitely in a Cold War. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that comes to a head in Undiscovered Country.
It does. It does. Which also directed by Nicholas Meyer, actually. Exactly. And it's interesting.
Which, incidentally,
mm-hmm.
Sorry, quickly, Nicholas Meyer wanted this film to be called The Undiscovered Country, but the studio said no, and they titled it The Wrath of Kahn because that would be, or The Wrath of Kahn, because that would be an easier title for people to understand.
Huh.
So
interesting.
that's why he named it his second Star Trek film, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country.
I don't know if I like Myers, but this title is so iconic. I don't know if I could have, but I'm glad he got to use the title later on. But
now I'd read that they wanted Nicholas Rosa to do the score, but they couldn't afford him either. How do you think this would have played out with a Rosa score?
It would have been interesting.
Yeah.
What else has he scored?
Because Rosa scored Nicholas Meyer's previous film to this. I can't remember.
Yeah. The time movie
one. Time After Time
thing. Yeah.
Time After Time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Nicholas Meyer is also credited with having the screenplay. We've written the screenplay portions for Star Trek IV that took place in the 80s. He wrote the past stuff for that movie. Okay. So he was involved in Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home as well. He wrote a lot of the stuff that took place in the 1980s. He didn't direct that movie though. That was Leonard Nimoy, but yeah.
He wrote a lot of this script, but he didn't get any credit for it though.
Who wrote the script for this, or was credited with the script for this?
Let me see.
Now this seems interesting. We're on Kirk's side, but there's a misunderstanding. He's trying to clear it up. I'm not trying to take anything. It's what are you talking about? Her son automatically just thinks it's Kirk, and because Chekhov says it, and she's thinking it's a mistake of some kind. She's at least trying to confirm it. Okay.
The script is credited with Harv Bennett and participating writers Jack B. Sowards and Samuel A. Peoples.
Okay.
Oh, Nicholas Meyer was saying that. Oh, go ahead, Ian.
No, sorry. This delay can be a bit confusing. So go on.
Yeah. Nicholas Meyer, they wanted him to direct it, and Harv Bennett said he was going to send the fifth version of the script over, but then he told Nicholas Meyer, I don't like this version, and Nicholas Meyer said, well, send me the fourth version, let me look at that, and they said, you don't get it. It's like each script is just a completely different story, and we're not happy with anything. And Nicholas Meyer said, well, send all of them over, and I'll take a look at what you got. And then Harv Bennett says, like, well, look, if we don't have a script within like the next, I think it was like 2 weeks, we're going to lose the booking with ILM, because ILM has to have a booking to start the special effects so we can make the release date. And Nicholas Meyer said, well, send everything over. Give me like 12 days, and I'll do what I can. And he did everything in 12 days and sent it back to Harv Bennett. And Harv Bennett's like, okay, we'll go with this. And he sent it off to ILM so they could get the special effects started. Which, good for you. You took 5 scripts and made one in 12 days. God bless you.
Oh, I got fireworks going off in the background. You guys can't hear those, can you?
I can't. Luckily, the dogs can't.
Okay. No, they got neighbors celebrating the 4th early. Oh. Okay. Here we have Spock's theme, right? This is a Spock theme here, right?
Yes. Which will become the predominant theme in Star Trek 3.
Yeah.
James Horner said he wanted to dive deeper into Spock, and he wanted Spock to have his own theme because of the death scene at the end of the film. He wanted it to really hurt when it happens.
I think it's important. I love this scene right here. Even if you knew nothing about Star Trek, you're figuring out who Spock is, who Kirk is. He's obviously an alien, different species, different, just way of looking at things. But we like him. Okay, he's bringing a good perspective, and I like the fact he says, "I have no ego to bruise. If an emergency rises up, you should be the captain. You should take over as captain." And I'm sure Spock would be a great captain regardless, but he knows who's better at it, and I give him points for that.
I'm not too sure about that thing on the wall at the back.
Yeah, Nicholas Myers complained about it. He says they had to rush and put all that together, and he says he didn't like it. He said he should have had a better looking quarters. He was not happy, but what can you do?
Exactly.
Well, we could go back and CGI a whole new quarters.
Let's go in the corner.
Okay,
it's a shame that they didn't bring Kirstie Alley back for Star Trek 3.
Yeah. Boomer, the books are called the Eugenics Wars, Volume 1, 2. I guess Volumes 1 and 2 that deal with Kahn.
I wonder if they're any good. Maybe I should give them a look. Okay. Here we have the voice of kind of reason here. He's saying, look, consider this. We are free. We have a ship and the means to go where we will. We've escaped exile on SETI Alpha 5, and you've proved your superior intellect to defeat the plans of Admiral Kirk. So maybe we don't have to we can just go on our way. I guess he's the spot. I guess he's the spot to Kahn, right? that's.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
I also get the impression, and I don't think it's ever been cleared up. Is that Kahn's son right there talking to him, or is he not?
I never got that impression.
I
just thought it was one of the guys.
It's possible. I always thought maybe he was the because he had a wife on there, and I figured she may have given birth before she got killed by one of those things, and I thought that might have been his son, but he doesn't refer because I don't know. And I don't know if that's ever been cleared up. But I always used to assume that was Kahn's son. But again, maybe it's just another member of the party. I don't know.
Unless Kahn got busy all those years on SETI Alpha or whatever it was, and they're all his sons and daughters.
No, I don't know. I also thought that maybe the other genetically engineered people, that they also had sons and daughters as well. Okay, because it wasn't just him; it was all the people, and I think all the genetically engineered people were dumped there. So they also had kids, and I figure some of the older ones died off probably, and because it was a very harsh environment after the other planet blew up. I think this is the first movie I ever saw a retinal scan in, right? Retina scan.
Probably so.
Star Trek was always cutting edge. Usually they would,
And if someone's more familiar with the TV show, was Carol Marcus in an episode of the TV show?
No.
She wasn't?
I don't believe so.
No, don't think so.
But there was a lot of time between, they had her in one of the Abrams movies.
Into Darkness, yeah.
Yeah.
Played by the British girl with the blonde hair.
Yes.
Eve.
I can't remember her name. Yeah.
That didn't make a lot of sense, that Abrams film. They had Benedict Cumberbatch playing Kahn. And the most English-looking guy you could ever think of, called Kahn Noonien Singh.
I know. They were originally going to, I think they wanted to get Benicio del Toro to play him, but then that fell through. Maybe you read the script. I'm sorry. I'm picking on Star Trek Into Darkness. Well, I think part of that Into Darkness has an issue that a lot of other Star Trek movies have. I think a lot of the times everybody's trying to recreate this movie, and you can't. Okay. And part of it's because you shouldn't try to redo it. And to be fair, the immediate sequels that they're not trying to, they knew they're not going to be able to have as good a villain as Khan. But what they did decide to do is they bring back the classic villain, the classic antagonists of the Federation, the Klingons, and they get Christopher Lloyd to play and that's good enough. Okay. Look at the horror.
You bring up a good point, Boomer. Like Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 3, they're the perfect bookend movies. I don't think you get a better two-part film.
Star Trek what?
You got Star Trek 2 and you got Star Trek 3.
Oh, I thought you said Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 2.
Oh no, Star Trek 2. They're two perfect bookended films.
They are, but I also like Voyage Home. They actually argue it's a trilogy. Did you know that? It's almost an accidental trilogy. Star Trek 2, 3, and 4. Because, and if you think about 3's in a way the darker chapter, because well, actually this is kind of dark too, but like Kirk kind of has to give up everything to save his friends, okay, and he'll do it because he's the hero. But and then he at the end of Star Trek 4, everything is right again, okay, and then we get 5, and then we get 6, and 6 is a good closer to the whole thing, I think.
Oh, and here's beginning some of the best action music ever scored for a film.
I am. Even when it starts, it's like the What do I
The
want to say?
wailing French horns.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say like it sounds like like trunk or something. It's I don't know. That's the word that pops in my head is trunk for some reason. It's like doom doom. It's like USS Reliant, slow to 1/2 impulse power. Nicholas Myers says he wanted Kahn and his crew to look like bikers. Actually, that's the inspiration of how they look. Did you know that?
They are kind of Mad Max looking.
It's interesting. I recently watched a British horror movie called about undead bikers called Psychomania, and that was an interesting movie. I like Spocky saying it would explain a lot of things if the comm system is down. But how often does this happen? Do you expect to get fired by another ship, right? In the Federation?
Not often.
I mean, he's still, revenge is a dish best served cold. Very cold in space. I kept saying, I found out it's a Russian proverb later on. Okay, but anyway.
I love that Kahn theme with the blaring French horns.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's like you feel his rage through the music, okay? I would argue an unfounded rage, but I also see his point of view. He argued Captain Kirk never bothered to check on us to at least see if we were doing all right.
I love,
it's like
love the way Kirk says, "This is damn peculiar."
Mm-hmm. Ray Shields, he immediately says it. Boom, too late. Oh. And I think up until now, no one had ever seen something like this in a Star Trek movie before. Just a direct space battle. I love how very different than what we'll see in like a Star Wars movie. The ships are moving very slow. They're like sailing ships almost. It's this whole like a shot across the bow.
Broadsides.
Yep. I remember being a kid, being horrified, the gates coming down, and I'm like, "You better get out of there!" And like the engineers screaming, "I need air!" And it's like these people are getting hurt bad. This is.
I'm not sure whether it's here or later on, but there's an explosion in the engine room or somewhere on the ship, and it just sprays fire everywhere. And it's not a special effect. It's obviously done practically, but there's a guy falling in all the fire. I'm not sure whether it's coming up or later on.
I think it's coming up here. I think I know what you're talking about. I could be wrong, but I mean, I've watched this dozens of times, but I'm just trying to. Too late. Here comes another one.
The music alone tells you who's winning.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'll have to have. Yeah, let's see. We don't have a few minutes.
That guy's had enough.
Yeah. Oh, the guy with the smoke. Oh, it looked like he got a bit of smoke and burn on him. Yeah. I feel bad. He's right. If he's fresh out of the academy, he wasn't expecting to run into battle right here and there and there. I mean, I feel bad because you think about. I don't want to say they're kids, but they're young adults. I mean, these are a lot of the people on the crew. They thought this was just going to be a training mission, and he did say, "Well, we're going to have to be on alert just in case." It's probably nothing, but be on alert just in case. Mm-hmm. It could be he keeps the glove on his hand to remember what he's been through. Okay, like he's still clinging on to that part of him that was marooned on that horrible planet. I don't know, or it's just me
Maybe,
trying to
or
guess.
he's just got one cold hand.
Yes.
Yeah, he could have like bad circulation there.
Yeah.
Okay, Kahn, if it's me you want, I'll myself beamed aboard. Spare my crew. I give Kirk points for this. He's. I give you 60 seconds. Okay. People made a point that Kirk actually and Khan don't meet each other physically in this movie at all. They're just talking through screens.
I love this bit of music coming up where they start to figure out how to turn off the shields on the Reliant.
Yeah,
and the music slowly builds to the point where Khan realizes his shields are going down.
Mm-hmm. Because we get the hopeful notes finally, right? Like, how are they going to turn this around? Okay, they have nothing to work with, and well, actually, maybe they do have stuff to work with. Okay.
William Shatner said he caught some grief about doing the thing with the glasses because they thought it would make Kirk look too old and feeble. But William Shatner said, "No, I think this is good because it helps make him more human."
Mm-hmm. I don't know. He's explaining, to the young cadet there, Savick, what. I like Spock. He's saying he could have changed the combination on his own. Yeah.
Nicholas Meyer said that he got Shatner to do this scene dozens of times where he tells Khan that the information's coming because he was telegraphing it every time he said it. It was like, here it comes. And he would say, no, if you say it that way, Khan's going to know there's something up. You see, you've just got to say it flat. And he would do it again. Here it comes. Eventually, he got so bored with it, he just said it completely flat. And it worked.
Ha! What did Nicholas Myers said? He said that Ricardo Montalban's a great actor and William Shatner is a great movie star. That's what he said.
Yeah. This music here.
Boom. It has intensity to it, but it's about the other side now getting hit, not about,
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Actually, I don't want you to get a strike. Okay.
Originally, the Reliant was supposed to the engine parts were supposed to be on top and not bottom. But Harv Bennett, when he opened up the picture of it, he opened it up upside down with the engine parts on the bottom. He's like, "Yeah, I like this. Do this," and they're like, "Oh, okay." So they had to reverse the model.
Huh. Oh, I wonder if that would have worked better or not. It probably would have made it look like a bird of prey. Actually, you know what? It would have made it look too much like the Romulan bird of prey, though, in the old show. I think, no, that was the right call. Because it's not supposed to look like a threatening ship. That's the whole point. I mean, I actually would agree it might make it look more threatening, but it's not supposed to look threatening. That's the thing. And of course, that music cue ends on a horrible, tragic note, though. It's...
They do a good job of making this, this movie has consequences. You're not just gonna get by with a bloody nose. People
No,
actually dying.
no, people are dying. It's Kirk is interesting, and this I didn't. I'm just picking up this for the first time now. When someone is at death's doors, he's kind of cheerful. He's not acting all morose and sad, and that's until after they go. It's interesting. Maybe that's what they need to see from him. I don't know. 'Cause he's the captain. And you'll see that a bit later with Spock. Not cheerful, but not, I would say, pleasant. Oh, we lost Ian.
Did I? Oh,
Oh,
you back?
Don't know what happened there.
it happens to me
Okay.
sometimes too.
I've always wondered if Scotty's nephew is so badly injured, why does he take him all the way up to the bridge and not straight to medical?
Good point.
The bridge was
Answer
on
me.
the way to the. I don't know. Maybe the
Yeah.
medical thing was barred off. I don't know. You got a point there. It's I like he's got blood on his shirt too. I keep wondering, is that his blood or somebody else's? I guess somebody else's.
That's
But,
the younger guy who died.
right, yeah. Now this scene coming up is creepy because they have to go to the station, right? And it's almost like something out of a horror movie at first when they're showing up there.
Yeah.
Or something out of
Yeah, it
like
is.
Alien,
It is, yeah.
It's
You were saying earlier on about the ear things being really scary for a young kid to watch. I found that when they go down onto the station, the quiet searching around and then finding the bodies hanging upside down, covered in blood, I found that terrifying.
yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a scene that might have gotten him into trouble today, especially for a PG movie. Even a PG-13, I don't know. Maybe they'd probably be able to get away with it at Star Trek, but for PG-13. But yeah, it's. I mean, Captain Tyrell explains that Kahn was trying to get information on them, and they weren't giving it up, and he got enraged and started killing people. So he wanted to know about Genesis. And of course, the scientists are already terrifying that the thing could get turned into a weapon, and Khan would be like one of the worst people to get a hold of something like that, right? So,
But isn't it pretty much just like a one and done thing?
here's what it is, okay? If you find a lifeless rock or like a lifeless moon, right, you could put the Genesis, you could reform it and turn it into a planet, basically, where life can sustain itself. But if you were to go to a living planet, like Earth or any other planet where there was life on it, it would destroy all the life on that planet and then replace it with new life. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
it could be
but
turned into a weapon. Yeah.
you can't use it multiple times. You got like one shot at it,
You only
right?
need to use it once though to get wiped out a whole planet though. You know?
Yeah.
It's that's what piques the Klingons' interest in part 2, in part 3. And they would probably argue, well, we were afraid the Federation was going to use it on us, but it's.
These are pretty
Space
nifty
Rat.
coats.
Yeah, I think the costumes in this are pretty good. You know what he said though? He said they couldn't afford pockets for the uniforms. That's why they
They
had
can
them wearing
afford
belts and
massive
stuff.
collars, but not pockets.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was him making it funny. I don't know. Yeah, but this is the scene you were talking about, them lowering the body,
Yeah.
running into the bodies hanging. Yeah, that's creepy. It's creepy. It's meant to be. You have Lieutenant Uhura on the background, doing the call too, and you just saw her doing that on the ship, and it's kind of interesting. It's.
The sets are pretty good as well.
Yeah, no, I think they look great. They look. This is how I imagine spaceships should look. It's
Yeah. Now, when I first saw this, I thought that Chekhov was dead there.
yeah.
Not now.
They're finding them with all the other bodies, and it looks like they're just knocked out. And now here he's saying we put creatures in our ears. Now, part of me is wondering: is this just them trying to gain their confidence? Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. Or maybe they're.
This is all part of the act.
Yep. It went wild. Slit their throats. He wanted to tear the place apart, but he had to get back to you.
Look at Chekhov just staring into nothing.
Yeah, they're both kind of in a glaze, and I'm thinking, well, all right. To be fair, I don't even know if when I was watching this first time I completely trusted them either, but I. One of my favorite lines in the movie is coming up. When he goes, we have to go where they went. Suppose they went nowhere. Well, then this is your big chance to get away from it all. You know? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's funny. It's that wry, almost gallows. I don't know if I'm going to call it gallows humor, but it's like, it's why we like Kirk. And that makes me like McCoy too, that whole exchange. I get why he's part of this.
Here's the code.
Guys, be quiet.
You're talking to us.
No, he's talking to his dogs.
Wolfpack.
All right.
We need to have Wolfton Media on sometime because he calls his show the Wolf Pack, and you have a Wolf Pack.
I have a wolf pack.
Yeah, it's.
So, if you materialized inside solid rock, do you think you would even realize it?
You'd be done. Yeah. Be a quick.
Yeah.
So then this will be a big chance to get away from it all.
How would the physics of that work?
What do you mean?
I mean, would you just?
Are you talking about the
I mean, Ace the Rock.
They just become part of the Rock. I think. Did that happen on TNG once, or am I thinking of something else where someone got beamed into something? No, I guess it didn't. I think something happened where somebody got stuck in. I don't remember now. I want to say something happened on TNG where someone got stuck in a wall, but I don't know if it had to do with the transporters. I don't know if it had to do with the transporters, though. It might have been something else. You had that one horrifying scene in Star Trek: The Motion Picture where there was a terrible transporter malfunction, and that kills the two members of the crew. I liked how on Star Trek: The Next Generation how I think what is it, Ensign Barkley or whatever his name, or Lieutenant Barkley, he had a phobia about using the transporter, and everybody, oh, come on, they're safe. A lot of people have that phobia. It's fine. I'm thinking, no, I am actually with him. Transporters are Nobody saw The Fly. I'm sorry. It's like don't know. In fact, I didn't much too much of Enterprise, but from what I heard, they weren't using the transporter for people yet on that show. They were just using it for objects. It was the early days of the Federation.
There was an episode of Fringe. I don't know if you guys watched that, where
I did.
some guys were using some technology where they could phase through a wall and rob banks.
That might have been what I saw that in. Yes.
And I think one of them got stuck where it went wrong. He just kind of became one with the wall.
That's what I saw it in. Yeah, Fringe, another great science fiction series. But okay, this is Tyrell. This is kind of Tyrell's moment right here, and I keep wondering what's happened here. Some people say he turns the phaser on himself because he's in too much pain from the thing in his head. I think he's doing it because he's still a Starfleet officer and knows he's actually trying to fight, trying to shoot Kirk, okay? And I think that's why he just takes himself out, because it's like there's nothing he can do, and that's the only thing he can do. So I'd like to think of it in some, maybe it is an honorific death. But yeah, then maybe he was just in pain. I don't know. But it's...
The honourable thing. He's ruining the Kahn's plan by killing himself.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Anymore if he's dead.
I think that's what it is. He's not going to do that to another Starfleet officer. The only reason he did the other guy is he did a jump, so that was a knee-jerk reaction. But actually, I think that's interesting, though. The phasers, we do forget, phasers can be set to kill.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
That is disgusting.
They made a giant ear to film that.
Okay, well, see, that messed with a lot of people. They did not like seeing that, but whatever.
I think I may have a picture of the giant ear. This is a great book, by the way. Industrial
What is
Magic.
Oh, you got that book?
Oh, yes.
God.
I don't own it, but I always I was a kid when that was out, and I always wanted to pick that up.
It was so expensive too.
It was. I remember.
Oh.
I paid
it.
£50 for this.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was a kid in the 80s, and I saw it. I was like, I wanted that book. Did they talk about Star Trek 2 in it?
There's lots of stuff in Star Trek 2. It's spread all over the place, though.
It's like every film Lucasfilm was, ILM was involved with up until the time the book was published.
So I'm sure E.T. was in there, Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah. Okay, cool. No, that's a cool book. That was one of the ones I always wanted for my collection. Going to have to come down here. This is the moment that kind of breaks Kirk a little bit. I've hurt you, and I wish to go on hurting you. And this is where I think Shatner's theatrical acting actually really works, this scene. And I know I made that comment earlier about Nicholas Meyer saying he was a great movie star and that Montalban was a great actor. But I would argue William Shatner actually later on in life, he proved he was a very good comedic actor, I thought. When he would do comedy, he was very good at it. Is there anything to eat?
So he's just playing for time here. He knows full well that they're going to get out of there very shortly.
Huh. I love this. It took this what I like how she's explaining. It took the Starfleet Corps of Engineers to tunnel all this out for 10 months, and it's like what we did in there, we did in a day.
Sir Ian, do you have the Star Trek 3 expanded score on CD?
I do, yes.
Boomer, you got it too?
I got it. Well, you need a copy of it? Not that I would ever do such an illegal act, but you can ask me again later.
It's the one that I'm currently lacking.
Okay, well, I will. Maybe I can look into that in some form for you.
And did either one of y'all get Lionheart by Jerry Goldsmith that just came out?
No.
You did get it?
No, I
Ian?
did.
Okay.
Lionheart. What is that? Is that the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie?
No, it's like an 80s sword and sorcery movie.
I've never heard of it. Okay.
Well, anyways, it came out in May and it sold out in the States. So I quickly went online and I had to order mine from the UK.
Oh.
But I got a copy coming.
Cool.
And I paid $20-something on shipping, which why is it so much to ship a CD from overseas? I don't know. But
I had to get a CD shipped from France a little while back. Oh.
Well, that picture of the ear isn't in that book.
Oh, okay. You do that in your 3D model class in high school. You could. I should have done that. I should have made the ear with the bug coming out of it. I never thought of that. I always liked making the stuff out of clay in art class. They would. So okay, well, all my friends, they were doing boring stuff, and I was like, "What are you doing?" I'm making a dinosaur. It's like. I have a question. Ian, were you shocked when you found out that was Kirk's son? Was that like a big deal moment? I guess it would be, right? Did people already know about it?
No, they didn't know about it. I can't remember how I felt about it at the time. It's been almost 40 years now, and I just take it for granted that that's Kirk's son. I can't remember how I felt when I first went, oh, he's his son.
I think a lot of people do, because of course he gets knocked off in the next movie. Spoiler, sorry.
Matthew Flynn asked a good question. If you would consider this movie an adaptation of Moby Dick, pretty much, I think so.
Well,
I know Boomer's got the lit degree, so what say you?
It's more like the director is kind of throwing tribute to Moby Dick the way he kind of does tribute to Shakespeare in Undiscovered Country. Not that this necessarily is Moby Dick. I mean, Kahn. I don't want to say it is an adaptation because that's not what it is, but it's inspired by that. And Kahn is even using lines from, I think, Moby Dick in this movie. The ship is called the Botany Bay, which I believe is from Moby Dick. I'm thinking back to junior year of high school. I had to write a paper on Moby Dick, but it's been a while. I got an A though.
Well, that's all that matters, right?
It's important to do well. I wrote a paper on Moby Dick.
Moby Dick's brought up by name in Star Trek First Contact. where somebody calls Picard Ahab, I think.
That's right.
Interesting.
Because he couldn't just set the self-destruct on the Enterprise and blow everybody up.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, no, we're not doing it.
The line is drawn here.
Fine. Yes.
Yeah. The line must be drawn here. Yeah, we're doing that one next week. Who's going to be in this guest? Chris P.
Chris P. Yeah. And speaking of, Jerry Goldsmith did the final 4 Next Generation. No. Final 3?
3.
How many Next Generation films are there? Yeah, final 3.
I kept wondering what William Shatner was eating there.
It was an apple.
Was that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, is it some kind of vegetable? I wasn't sure, like a giant radish or something. I don't know. Okay, never mind.
A giant radish.
I didn't know. I thought it was like an alien, some kind of alien. Well, it's not alien, but the science, I don't know. It's an apple. Okay, it makes sense. Apple. Okay. She's the Genesis illusion. Have to be an apple. Okay, that makes sense.
A small rabbit.
Let me tell you something. I was watching this on a crappy VHS copy back in the 80s, and there was like a bad edit in one scene, like which I don't know if that was in the Showtime version where it looked like someone took the theatrical cut, but they cut in the wrong spot, and it kind of jarred a little bit. Like when come down, like when I think Savick was asking to come with them down to the surface. It was that.
What I would say is I think my film's slightly out of sync by a couple of seconds with yours, but 1 hour, 19 minutes, 24 seconds.
Oh, I'm on 118.
No, I'm saying at that particular point, at 1 hour, 19, 24, James Horner is in the scene.
Oh, I'll look for it.
Yeah. At 1 hour, 19 minutes, 24 seconds. He's on the right-hand side of the screen. He's a guy running with a thing in his hand.
That's him.
Corridor.
He's young.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he was 28 when he did this.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good for him.
Or maybe he was 27 when he started and he was 28 when it came out. But
okay, yeah, because he looks like one of the young cadets.
He's on screen for about a second.
Huh. Well, I think I caught him with the other ones. Yeah. All right. And there we have a photon torpedo. I wonder if we'd ever seen one up close before in a Star Trek movie. Until now.
I think this is the first time, I think.
There she is. We got Kahn's theme again. He wants the hunt. He is not. He's a smart man that is not thinking rationally. That's what's going on here.
Yeah.
Because he's intelligent, but unlike Spock, he's not leaving his emotions at bay. He's letting them take over.
He has no regard for the rest of his crew at this stage.
No. And I guess, like Matthew Flynn said, yeah, that is the Moby Dick analogy. Yeah, the Ahab. I'll put it this way: some of my favorite science fiction movies will always make nods to literature. Okay.
Like.
Well, if I'm going with an anime movie I watched once, there was a Ghost in the Shell. They did a lot of nods to J.D. Salinger and on that series. I'm trying to think what else. Well, this movie also makes nods to Dickens.
Tale of Two Cities, yeah.
Yeah, Tale of Two Cities.
Star Trek 6. Those Shakespeare in that.
Shakespeare all over the place, yeah. I'm trying to think what other science fiction movies I've seen that have done nods to literature. I know that on Deep Space Nine there were nods to Les Miserables. Remember, with
Yeah.
Cisco and the
Um.
guy that ran the Maquis. Yeah, the
Oh, Lieutenant
I forgot his name, but I remember the scene that.
Huntington.
Yeah,
Huntington, wasn't
I
it?
remember what
Yeah.
finally set Cisco
Eddington.
off. Yeah,
Eddington.
Eddington. I
Yeah.
remember what got Cisco angry at him. He said, if you think about it, the Federation are no better than the Borg, worse even. And of course, Cisco's wife was killed because of a Borg
Killed by
attack.
the
So
Borg.
he
Yeah.
took when he said that, you're done. Okay, he was mad and he was going after the Maquis after that. He was actually angry, and I picked up on that, but. The Mutara
I
Nebula.
I saw online they did this. They put fresh water and salt water in a tank and colored it with lights, and it would do swirly things.
It looks fascinating. It looks completely convincing. We take it for granted now. Doing a lot of these space effects back then had to have been daunting. Like when you look at the stuff in Superman, that was another one where we. Oh, Sir Ian, it was in a made for video movie, but it was based on a comic book. But All Star Superman, they do a lot of they do a lot of references to Moby Dick in that as well, with Lex Luthor thinking he's Ahab going after Superman. Like
Okay.
there was that too. Yeah. You ever read Moby Dick, Daniel?
I have not. I read mostly Shakespeare in high school.
Yeah, I
Just
had to do
because
him for
I
a
wanted
report.
to.
No, it's fine. No, we don't know. Things don't always come up with the readings either. What is it? I remember I actually had I think I had an anthropology professor who was from Britain originally, and he was teaching a class, and he was going, and he was looking at some of the authors, and he on the board, and he was like, "Oh, Melville," and he was just shaking his head. He's like, "I like Tolkien," and I thought that was funny. Just different kinds of books, though.
I went to see Macbeth when I was at school. It was a production put on by the Royal Shakespeare Company in Newcastle,
Oh,
in the
cool!
north of England,
Wow.
and it was Bob Peck played Macbeth, and then he later appeared in Jurassic Park as the hunter guy who goes after
Huh.
the raptors, with his shotgun, and then they kind of
Yeah.
get beside him and he goes, "Clever girl," and they kill him.
Yeah,
I,
Wow.
I, I, I always remember that. I think, well, that's the guy I saw playing Macbeth.
it's a lot of actors that we see in movies were in the Royal Shakespeare Company. There's this one horror movie I love called Zombie, which was an Italian horror movie, and the main actor in it was a British actor, but he had been in the Royal Shakespeare Company, and then he was on a popular soap opera at the time. I'm sorry, I'm
Oh, there's that
talking. We
scene
missed
with the
the
fire.
shot. Yes,
But you
okay,
see
it
what I
was
mean? It's
here.
just fire sprayed everywhere, and the guy's just crawling in it.
So they saved that for one of Kahn's crew. Okay.
You couldn't pay me any amount of money to do that, even for a film.
To do what? Roll around in the
To
fire?
get sprayed in fire.
Yeah, it's funny. In the movie Spawn, they explain how they did the fire effects for that when Michael Jai White's character catches on fire, and uh, they have to spray him down with this really cold substance, and then you set him on fire. And I think the actor actually did it for the scene, and it was because that his character gets all burned, gets killed by getting burned to death. But then he comes back. I like this. We get Chekhov
I know
back at the.
technology.
Hmm?
Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was going to say we get Chekhov back at the console. That was a nice. It's like all is forgiven, I think we needed, obviously it was beyond Chekhov's control anyway, but I like the fact that Kirk just, you know, nothing to forgive. There's. The only kind of Star Trek models I own are the Micro Machines that they released back in the late '90s, and I think I do have one, a little one of the Reliant, buried somewhere. I got ones for Star Trek, Star Wars, and Babylon 5. They did a little series for all of them.
I had an Ertl model kit of the Enterprise. It was decent size. I think it was maybe 2 feet, at least 18 inches big. It was quite substantial.
Was it of the one from the old television series?
I think it was this version.
Okay, I couldn't get my hands on this version. They sold the one of the old television series, so I bought that one. I was not an expert model maker when I was a kid, though. It was okay, but I got one of the Enterprise. I got the Vulcan. They were all based on stuff from the old show, so I think I got the Romulan Bird of Prey. I got the Klingon battle cruiser. I got the and some kind of Vulcan shuttle. They had that too. I bought that and built that.
I always enjoyed painting them more than gluing them together.
I loved making models when I was a kid, but I used far too much glue, and I was a crap model maker basically.
Yeah, it takes a lot.
When the glue dried, it looked like somebody'd spat on it. It was just awful. So I gave it.
And the trouble is the glue would change color too, wouldn't it, over time, and it just wouldn't look right.
Matthew Flynn, that was Elizabeth. She's the tan colored dog, and Addison is the black colored dog. I don't know if you could see Addison.
I'm loving this though. You're seeing what happens when a starship fights another starship, and they messed up Reliant.
Yeah, Kahn is looking rough.
Yeah, and he said he was going to avenge the other guy that died. Like, yours is superior, remember? And then he dies. His hand's all messed up. I wonder if the glove on the other hand protected him at all. I don't know.
I wonder if that glove's ever been up for auction.
Oh, I'm sure. I bet you ready money. Troy would know. We could probably ask him.
And speaking about auctions, Harrison Ford's fedora from Temple of Doom just sold at auction for $375,000.
Probably, actually.
My max bid was $373,000, so I lost out.
Okay.
But
oh, the guy rescinded his bid. No, I don't know. Or the guy.
Yeah.
No, the guy. Maybe the guy
not.
died. No, the guy died in a car accident because you can't rescind him. Maybe he died in a car accident. So we're going to let you be the. It's really at this moment I get Kahn. I get him. I understand. He's lost everything, and he still wants to kill Kirk. Basically,
he's dedicated. I'll give him that.
And these are actually, I think these are direct quotes. I think these are direct quotes from Moby Dick here.
Yeah, from Hell's Heart, I
from
stab
Hell's
at
Heart,
thee
I stab at thee. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Moby Dick was on the shelf. If you look, you'll see it was on the shelf of the ship they were dropped off with.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Botany Bay, what is that from? Thinking if it's from Moby Dick, that's two on the nose. Let me see.
And we're gonna get
like the penal colony. Wasn't it a penal colony?
I think it was, yes.
In Australia, yeah. And we're gonna get the best shot edited sequence film in any Star Trek movie.
What'd you say? What?
The best edited shot, sequence, everything shot in any Star Trek movie.
Oh, yeah. The Matara Nebula. I meant to make a point. I guess that was like going into a hurricane or something, right? Are you out of your Vulcan mind? No human can tolerate the radiation that's in there.
And we just set up the third movie right there.
That was a last minute thing, I think. In fact, I bet that whole shot was added in later with him putting the hands on McCoy's face because originally, as it was written, this was going to be, I think this was Leonard Nimoy wanting Spock to be written out, okay, of the series, okay, and have die the hero's death.
He said he had so much fun, he wanted to do it again.
Yeah, so they left that out, and I think Myers did not care for that. He argued, I'm not going to be resurrecting the character, okay? But, if you want me involved in a later project, that's fine, but don't cut me in for part 3. That's why he didn't direct part 3. Because he thought, I'm not going to kill him off and then bring him back to life. He didn't understand that. And I'll bet the way they have to get Spock back is kind of convoluted. I still like Star Trek 3, though, and I will defend that movie, but it's not perfect. This pretty much is. I mean, this movie.
Yeah.
One vivid memory I do have.
Hard?
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Ian.
Quick one. One vivid memory I do have of watching this for the first time is when Kirk goes down there and they grab him and he goes, he's dead already, sir. And they let him go. And I expect him to go forward and see a dead body, and then Spock gets up. And I remember thinking, he's not dead.
Yeah.
It's just Anyway, sorry.
No. You make a good point, and I'm thinking, yeah, maybe you were clinging for hope, but I think probably what they were meaning is you can't go in there and save him. He's dead.
I missed the meaning of the scene. Was what I was saying.
Oh, I see. We used to have like before Blockbuster took everything over, there were different chains of video stores, and I had one chain of video stores would give you a free poster every now and then, right? And I had a free poster for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and it was a painting. No, it was a painting, and it has Kirk and Spock, and they're doing the live long and prosper thing through the glass, and that was the poster. It was a neat little poster. I wish I still had it, but I was even trying. Oh, Genesis effect in full view. This is something that confuses me until now. Maybe you Ian can explain it to me. Okay, so the Genesis has to be on what is it? It has to be part of they have to use it on like a dead planet or a dead moon or something, right? Yet it gets formed here. What?
I know what you're going to say. There's no planet.
Is it? There's no planet here. Is it being made out of the Reliant?
It created a wave.
I've never understood that. I mean, because when they look at it now, there's a huge planet there. So where does it come from?
I mean, was there a planet nearby that it hit, or a dead moon or something? They don't explain it.
Nope.
Ruins the whole movie. I'm sorry. Okay.
It does not.
Excuse me, Nicholas Myers. What did you mean here? They set it all up. Has to be on it.
Chris P's right. That makes good sense to me. It used to matter from the nebula.
Oh, and then nebula no longer exists. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. They could have maybe explained it. Maybe Spock could have.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, Spock would have explained it to us, but yeah. I guess there are no other science officers there. I don't know. It's just. Look at his face. He'll die. No, sir, he's dead already. Yeah, no, I get what you would think. I think the same thing. It's just, it's too late.
I was brilliant death scene.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
One of the best. I was watching a YouTube video by Chris Gore, and he was saying that this is how you handle the death of an iconic character. You have to make sure that Kirk gets to at least talk to his friend. Okay, you have to make sure they have that moment at least toward the end. You have to also show the funeral too. Okay, he says he was arguing that not that he want to kill off iconic characters, but if you do this as an example of how to do it well. Okay. Because it's an act of self-sacrifice to save the crew. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. He was making that point earlier in the movie, and
I always remember Spock standing up and pulling his tunic down as well before he turns around.
Yeah.
Just
Straightening the uniform.
About. Yeah.
You can tell he's struggling here too to get the words out.
And James Horner bringing back the Spock theme from earlier in the film, which again becomes the predominant theme in the next film.
Now, my guess is that a human that went in there to try to do this might die immediately, but Spock's a Vulcan, so he had more tolerance to it, but even that's going to kill him. Or at least being half Vulcan.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there with my dad, and obviously intensely moving scene, but doing that wide-eyed thing so the tears wouldn't spill out of my eyes. Because I didn't want to put my hand up to take the tears away. So I was just huge eyes to try and stop the tears coming out. It didn't work.
Wow. Actually, yeah. No, Kirk is in pain right now. He's holding it in. I made a mistake earlier when I said that. Yeah, but the painting was of that scene with them holding the live long and prosper.
And it's that pathetic little no, he says.
Mm-hmm. He looks completely drained right now. Yeah.
Last summer when Brutus died, it was at the height of the pandemic.
Wow.
And I had to call around to find a vet that would actually let me go in to be with him. And I had to wear a face shield and gloves and a face covering, and the vet had on the same thing, and the vet tech had on the same thing. And I'm just like,
yeah,
okay. But I got to be with him, so I mean, whatever I had to do. But that scene kind of struck me as that, because I've got him in my arms, but I've got on gloves and I got on a stupid face shield, and my face is covered from here, and it did make a difference.
Yeah,
it was harder. So I can imagine Kirk being on the other side of the plexi.
Yeah.
And you want to reach out and you just want to touch him, and you just can't.
He can't. He's full of radiation. He might kill you. Might die in the process of trying to. Savick has her hair down.
Yeah. And I'm very glad they put the bagpipes on the original soundtrack release.
Yeah, that was important. They put it on. They put everything. They even put that weird a little electronic thing that comes on during the Genesis effect. That's on there too. It's not just the Horner score. And this is Amazing Grace.
Oh, the Genesis project music was composed by Craig Huxley.
Huh.
Of Blaster Beam fame.
Huh. It's interesting. One of the Tron music cues was composed by Journey. I learned that later on. But
yeah.
All right, and Glasses are broke, right?
And that's brought back in Star Trek 4.
Yeah.
'Cause
Oh, he's reading A Tale of Two Cities, right? Trying to get through it, and yeah.
we've all tried to get through that book once or twice.
I need to read more Dickens. For some reason, he never cropped up in school. I did read A Christmas Carol, though, but I do need to read more Dickens. I mean, I'm familiar with the stories from adaptations, but I should read the actual literature.
We were forced to read A Tale of Two Cities at school, and to tell you the truth, I can't remember anything about it.
There's a funny line if you ever see the movie The Squid and the Whale, where the Jeff Daniels character, he's like a literary writer, and like the son says, "Oh, we're reading Tale of Two Cities," and he's like, and he says, "Is that any good?" And he says, "It's minor Dickens." Why do schools always have you read the worst novels by great authors? You know, he made that point, and I it sounds like it's a pretentious thing to say, and then the guy director is, but isn't it kind of true? But this is a great scene, him and his son, and we don't know David Long in this movie, but it's kind of it kind of helps with the Spock death with the scene right here, actually.
Yeah,
because he's lost his best friend, but he's kind of gained a son.
Yeah, and his death in the third film, you still feel it, even though you're right. We don't spend a lot of time with him in either movie. I don't think.
No, and I am going to say this. Oh, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
But when he's killed in the third one, it's a blow.
Oh, it's impactful, and I like how it is brought up in Star Trek 4. Savick says, it's important to know that David saved us. He saved us all. Okay, and there's that little moment, and then Kirk has to put it behind him because they're going back. But and then it's brought up again in Star Trek 6, and you see that Kirk is still hanging on to a lot of hatred and resentment over that death.
We all would.
Toward Klingons, too, in particular. And it's an interesting movie that deals with, racism in the classic sense. I guess in this would be species sense, about how, Nicholas Myers making a point. No, I'm sorry. You're going to have members of the Federation that have prejudice against Klingons. Okay. And he shows that in that 6th movie. They say that Myers originally wanted the end of this to be more somber. Like they would be more dark and a little more depressing, I guess. But what do you think? I kind of like the more hopeful note.
Yeah, so do I.
And it's funny because they argue that Star Trek 3 actually starts out that way, though. It is more somber at the beginning of 3 because...
Yeah, because they're all kind of a bit upbeat here. They're kind of, the Spock's died there. They can see something positive out of it. And then when it comes, just a few minutes later, at the beginning of Star Trek 3, down in the dumps again.
Yep. So it's kind of weird because in the way the people that did 3 were trying to do Myers' original ending for this at the beginning. So it's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
They were.
You have to have hopeful in Star Trek, though. If you don't, then it's not really Star Trek, right?
Yeah, right. I think so. That's probably why that studio made them change it. I mean, and Myers got a little angry about them having to show the coffin on the planet, and he said, "I didn't even shoot any of that. They just stuck that in there." And he was saying, the hint that Spock would come back or whatever, that he could or whatever. I have Leonard Nimoy doing the preamble that Kirk used to do at the end of the movie. The space, the final frontier thing at the end of. That was what he decided on. And then they put this in here. He complains about this in the commentary, I think. I think it's fine, though. It makes you curious as to what's going to happen next because you see the coffin there and you're wondering, And I didn't necessarily think Spock was going to come back because 3 hadn't even come out yet when I'd seen this. But, I thought, well, this is an interesting planet. I wonder what's down here. And I was kind of intrigued by the whole Genesis planet thing, which they quickly torch in the 3rd movie. Okay, but it's. I mean, I was always fascinated by the Genesis thing.
Turns up in Ready Player One.
It does, huh? I didn't know that.
suppose you have to have seen the film to notice it, but
No, if I when I rewatch the Ready Player One, I'll look out for it. I'm not surprised it's in there though, because there's a lot of iconic '80s stuff in that movie.
There's a video when Halliday, the creator of the Oasis, dies, and he's lying in stage, but he's lying in the that Mark IV torpedo.
I'm wondering if I noticed it at the time and just forgot about it. I don't know, or maybe I just didn't put the connection in. And here we got the end credits theme, which I like. It's kind of exuberant, I would say. What do you think?
Yeah.
You need that kind of music coming out of the cinema after seeing Spock die. You need something to lift your spirits a bit.
It was interesting. There was a Star Trek comic at the time. Actually, I don't want to speak like I'm an expert to this. Never mind. Okay. And I know that the Star Trek comic continued after this movie. Troy would probably know more than me. And I wonder if Spock was still dead in the comic up until they get up to part 3. Because the trouble is that they would have to make the movie comic book tie-ins tie into the comic book, but then like they would come up with another reason why they had the Klingon bird of prey on Vulcan, and then that would lead into the movie. I don't know. It was this weird thing. I'd be curious to read those old Star Trek comics. I know they did Star Trek comics. They did Doctor Who comics.
It's like when they did the Star Wars, the Star Wars sequel novel by Alan Dean Foster, Splintered the Mind's Eye.
Yes.
I mean, it's been over 40 years since I read it, but it went off on a completely different track to the film. And it was all, given the okay by George Lucas, but...
I wonder if it was tying into what Lee Brackett's original screenplay was going to be like for it, because I know that she had wildly different stuff in it than made it into the final version. But I think there was going to be a battle with people on things on wings and stuff instead of being ships, but which I think might have been an interesting movie in its own right. But that's not what we got. But
see, if this was credits today, they'd be about 15 minutes long.
No,
it would.
But I like it. You get a nice little piece of music you get to listen to, and it's, you know what I want to say? This movie, Star Trek, really opened up my eyes about the possibilities of space travel and everything. I was fascinated when I saw this movie. I was like, what's the next adventure? Where is the ship going to go? Where are they going to go? I was all in. Okay. And we get Star Trek 3, and then we get Star Trek 4. That was all we had really then, was the movies. I guess we had the comic books, and I'm assuming they had Star Trek novels being written, I guess, in this continuity as well. I don't know. But it's kind of difficult because the movies actually really do take place right after each other. There's not like years in between them,
I still prefer the model special effects over the CG special effects.
I do too. And actually, one of the things I wanted to give J.J. Abrams credit for when he wanted to use model effects for the new Star Wars movies. It's just there were some other issues going on with those that we won't have to discuss here. But actually, I will say this. Yeah, and I know at some point we want to do Starship Troopers, right? Wasn't that the idea? Daniel?
Yeah, I need to get back up with
yeah, find out from him. But that had a lot of, actually no, they used models for the ships in that movie as well. Never mind. Okay, because those weren't CG models. Yeah, I don't think yeah. In fact, I think one of the things that's kind of hurt Babylon 5 was the fact that they used CG on that show for the ships, and at the time it was fine, but I don't think it's aged too well. And I suppose they could always do new CG for it to make it, spruce it up a bit, make it more modern, but
then they give credit to Alexander Courage in the credits.
To do, they did TNG in the original the original series. They kind of redid all the effects, and
They did.
they did a lot of CG work for the Next Generation as well. The stuff that they couldn't find or that didn't kind of up-res to high def.
Yeah.
I just wish they'd done that with Deep Space Nine and Voyager, but obviously.
Yeah, I think they didn't think the DVD sales were satisfactory enough to have them do other series. But yeah, they actually went back and they figured we could either make this better or we could make it look like the old show did. And they decided, no, we have to make it look like how it looked on the original series, just make sure it can be viewed decently in high def. They did the same thing with the X-Files, because the X-Files had some very simple CG effects early on, but they had to still redo those for the X-Files when they brought it to HD. But they look like the effects from the old show, so I don't have an issue with it. Yeah, but all right, Paramount. Yeah, they say that TNG is an example of a great HD remaster. They say Buffy the Vampire Slayer had a terrible HD remaster. It's considered one of the worst, actually. And yeah, I wish they would give Deep Space Nine and I guess Voyager the treatment, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe one day, you never know.
Night, Melissa.
Yeah, I will say, as time goes on, it might get cheaper to do it, so maybe they'll do it one day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, should we watch the director's cut now?
Actually, do you want to?
Can you stay up that late? I know I can't.
I can't either. I'm actually working on a Thursday for a change, but what did I want to mention? Do you want to talk about the director's cut at all, Serene? Do you prefer it to this theatrical version, or?
To tell you the truth, there's very little in it that makes it better. There's a few extra scenes of Ike Eisenman as the nephew, and that's about it, really. I can't remember anything that's any better than the original version. So, no.
Yeah, I did see it before because I the older DVD, but I got annoyed because they released it on Blu-ray and they said releasing the director's cut on Blu-ray. I bought it, and there's an editing glitch in it where when Sulu turns around and says, "May I remind the captain," and then you're still seeing his back when he says that line in the director's cut, and somebody messed up with the director's cut. And then people are going, "Oh, are you really going to quibble over one little scene?" Yes, I'm going to quibble over one little scene. And I sent it back, okay? And it's I don't know if I'm sure they fixed it at some point, but I was done. I'm just theatrical version, done. No more. I like it when Sulu turns around and does the "May I remind the captain," and that's missing because they just overlap the voiceover when he's it's sloppy. I don't know how that got through like that either. Anyway, but I digress.
Well, thank you for coming on.
The menus.
Oh yeah. I'm curious. In the UK, you have different menus. You might have different menus. What do you see on the menus for Star Trek 2 in your version? I'm curious. Is it?
Well, the version I was watching. Where is it? I got this set a few years ago for the 50th anniversary.
Okay, that's a nice set. I don't have that, but yeah, I heard that's good. It even has the animated series on it, I think, right?
Yeah, it's got the original series. It's got the 6 films and the animated series. But that also has the director's cut of Star Trek 2.
Yes.
On it.
Okay. And I'm sure it's the corrected version, but yeah, it's.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's the corrected version, but I've just had it off the. I don't know. I had this. I don't know. Is that the same as you had in the States for Star Trek Blu-ray set?
It looks very similar to what I have. I have the regular DVD of that, but it looks like that. Yeah, you probably got the same stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
you probably got.
I think it's the same menus you have over there as well. So
probably it has like the twirling Starfleet symbol on it, and in the blue. Yeah, okay, you have the same stuff.
Yeah.
You got the same stuff we got, and you get a trailer for the J.J. Abrams remake at the beginning. I don't know if you have that or not. If you got spared that in your version. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. Yeah, I don't mean to Yes, I do. Anyway, I don't know. No, the first one was all right, and then it went
Yes, you
downhill
do.
from there. Yes, I do. I'm trying. It's because Into Darkness. Into Darkness really put me in a bad way. Into Darkness was them trying to remake this movie and completely falling flat. I like seeing Carol Marcus in the bikini, which of course they had to apologize for later. Okay, and I'm sorry we had that scene. And yes, I know. Okay, uh, and Benedict Cumberbatch crushing the guy's head with his bare hands. I'm like, no, let's not go there. Okay, come on. Anyway, how you doing, Daniel?
I'm fine. I was going to say it's getting late, but for someone else, it's like way late.
Yeah, we should probably wrap it up.
I don't know how you stay up so late, but God bless you. Thank you.
Okay.
It's been my pleasure, and again, thanks very much for inviting me on again.
Do you want to do
thoroughly
Star
enjoyed
Trek
it.
3 in a couple weeks?
Yeah, I'd love to. I should
Okay.
have better internet by then as well. So I'm getting,
Oh, cool. Excellent. Yeah.
what's
cool.
the shiny wire stuff called with light going through it? Fiber. I get fiber broadband.
Fiber
Oh,
optics.
fiber. Okay.
Fiber
Fiber
optics.
Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah, I'm getting that somewhere.
Cool.
But yeah, I'd love to do Star Trek 3.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I'll sort out a date here. I know it'll be might be into August at this point, but we'll have you back for Star Trek 3 definitely.
And remember, Troy's set
fine.
for Star Trek 6 at some point.
Troy set for Star Trek 6. I think Matthew Flynn just signed on for Star Trek 5.
Okay. Get Big Al for Star Trek Motion. Of course, he may want to do that in his own thing. I don't know, Star Trek Motion Picture, but
we'll see. Yeah.
All right.
But thank you everyone for coming by tonight. Remember, adopt, don't shop. Keep listening to great film music, and we'll see you next week for First Contact, Star Trek First Contact with Chris P.
Cool. All right.
Cool.
Catch you later.
Good night.